Okay, so this is our E53 4.8 IS. One thing about these E53s, the 4.8 ISs, they all came with EHC2, which is electronic height control. And basically all it is, it's just air ride on all four corners. So you have two air struts in the front and then two bags in the back with regular struts in the back. And it's all controlled by the computer. Now, when I first saw this ad online, it was at such a good price. I was like, there's no way that the air suspension could be working perfectly. And sure enough, turns out that the front air struts were actually removed and replaced for the original coil springs. Now, that is reliable, but I don't really want this to be reliable. No, I'm kidding. I really want to have the air struts working on this, as I plan on towing it. And when I want to lower it to make it look nice, I don't have to go through adjusting coilovers and turning them up or down, whether I have to tow or whatnot. So luckily enough for me, I found some air struts. This is actually a replacement air strut. It's used, but it's made by Arnott Industries, which is one of the off-brand manufacturers that makes OEM front air struts for the E53. So one of them is an Arnott, and then the other one, it's actually a Delphi, but it's not the exact same brand as the Arnott. So what we're gonna try and do today is replace these traditional springs with the air struts so we can get our air ride working again and figure out what else is wrong with this air control system and hopefully get it working. Okay, so as you can see in here, my garage is kind of tight. I don't have a ton of space, but we're gonna get started on removing these OEM struts and hopefully replacing them with some air.
So removing these is actually pretty easy. There's 2 bolts on the bottom that go through and then 3 nuts on the top and your stabilizer bar link, and then it pops out.
So as you can see, I've very quickly been able to get out this front strut, and when I pulled back some of the liner here, I was able to find the original air line for this front strut. So we are going to put in our replacement air strut, which is what should actually be in here, and start testing the system and see what is wrong, if there is anything wrong.
Okay, so getting this in was actually not that difficult. The tricky part is suspending it high enough for you to be able to screw in the airline before you actually bolt it up to the car. Working on the other side though, that one was a bit trickier. Getting the old strut out was pretty easy, but when I was trying to put the new one in, for some reason, the nuts on my original struts were not the same thread pitch as the ones on these replacement air struts. So I kind of had to figure some stuff out and re-thread and re-tap pretty much everything so that it worked perfectly, but it went back in.
Alright guys, so as you can see, we've got our air struts now installed on this side and also on this side as well. And now I'm gonna put the wheels on and drop the car back down, and hopefully it works. Okay, so now we're here in input. We're gonna press Shift F8, which brings us to the E53, and then we go to chassis. I'll just use the keys here. You go to chassis, and then we're gonna go to 2-axle air suspension. Then we're gonna go to F6, which is activate. Then I'm gonna go to F1 hand control, and we can see what our ride heights are right now. So we're at -2 on the front left and 0 on the front right, and then rear left we're at 1, rear right we're at 2. So it's pretty much where it should be. The reservoir pressure is where it should be as well, which is right there. Compressor temperature is kind of warm, but it's still within its range. So what I can do now, if I go, and I'm gonna go to calibrate height. I'm gonna go calibrate. F1, left, right, and left rear is fine. Left front and right front, we're gonna lower it a bit. We're gonna go by 50 actually, 50 and 50. We hit OK, and it is lowering the front of the car.
Okay, so we're actually now on the road driving, and we have no error for the self-leveling suspension. You can see we have our ride control there, our height control, so if I want to go into access mode, I can, and we kind of air out a little bit. But yeah, man, everything seems to be working just fine. It's great. Well, that's it for today's episode, guys. I hope you enjoyed this 4.8 IS content. Stay tuned for some future episodes, as I got a lot more work to do with this car. I have the valve cover gaskets, timing cover gaskets, and fluids to change. And honestly, the list doesn't end. It's an old BMW. So make sure you guys subscribe if you want to see more content of this in the future. Peace.